But most really big business ideas, in my opinion, are the opposite of what you would naturally do. Because if what people's natural instincts led them to do were the things that made businesses successful, then most people would have successful businesses, and that's anything but true. And so it's the constraint of forcing yourself to say no. There are three things here. There is one of these that is more important, and we have to keep whittling it down or chunking up the language such that this one point is the most compelling. And you're thinking, okay, well maybe this just only applies to marketing, right? No, it has to go all the way through. Because think about it. If you figure out that this one core promise or core feature, right, is the most important thing, then that informs our product strategy. What features are we going to build? What services are we going to deliver? And if we only have one to do, wouldn't we spend so much disproportionate amount of time trying to make that thing exceptional? Like, you look at Raising Cane's, right, the chicken shop. They have 7 ingredients on the menu. Like, they arguably couldn't have fewer ingredients in order to make a meal. They've got toast, they got fries, they've got chicken tenders, and then they've got sauce and beverages. There's 6, and there's one more, I can't remember what it is, right? And so I think coleslaw or something like that. But anyways, point being, they could, like, someone saying, hey, have you considered adding an 8th item? Yeah, they probably thought about it. But the ability to say, this is what matters most. If we only did this one thing, would we accomplish all of our goals? And I think it's one of the most powerful questions. Frank Slootman, who wrote the book Snowball, talks about this one thing, where he says a lot of companies will take, they'll have 5 objectives and 5 sub-objectives, and they go into sub-objective, nightmare, right? He says if we cannot say what the one thing that's most important in the business, then the job of the CEO, that CEO has failed. And I'm guilty of this too. So I'm not saying, this is not me saying this from a pedestal. This is me, this is me trying to document my own thinking rather than say this is a sermon. Is that what one thing, if it were true 12 months from now, would change everything for our business? And what's interesting is that when you ask that question, like what one thing would have to be true? Like if we had a dedicated lead channel that we owned, that one thing would change everything. If we just had a great supply of talent for our HVAC company, for new technicians, if we just did that by the end of the year, it would change everything for us. If we were just able to pull cash flow from 90 days to 30 days for each sale that we do, that would change everything for us. Thinking about that as the what must be true then becomes the most important business objective, because you might have objective 2, 3, 4, 5, but if you just did one, then it likely makes 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 irrelevant. 2, by the time you accomplish number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 might have changed because you will now have new resources and new assets at your disposal. And so you're basically trying to make a decision about variables before the board has changed from the decisions that you're ultimately trying to make.